Welcome back to the Reading Corner here on Dreamers Defy. We are reading Vengeful by AJ Parnell. We are up to chapter 11 today, and this is the part where I say, if you haven't already, go ahead, go back to the introduction video, watch that, catch up to where we are now. We'll wait for you, it's okay, and then you can read along with us. Excuse me. But we are on chapter 11 today. It's really starting to get into it. And be sure and comment down below. Tell me what you think and what do you think is going on? Who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy? Is there a good guy or bad guy? Are the ghosts real? Or are they just voices in his head? And what all is going on? Let me know. Let's get right into it. Here is chapter 11. It is entitled, All That Is, Was, and Worse. Heart pounding, sweat dotting his brow, Luke fought his way through the terrified students that pushed and shoved past him, going the opposite way as he tried in vain to reach Emily. Tears streamed down her face, and blood covered her dress as she stood alone at the center of the connecting hall. Screaming his name over the sound of the rapid gunfire, frantic cries, and the roar of an oncoming train. Multiplied, the sounds built into a feverish crescendo as a train burst through the walls, horn blaring and engine roaring as it slammed into Luke. Then there was silence. Blessed silence. Luke began to wake. Eyes clamped shut, Luke tried to control his breathing as his racing heart slowed. His dreams were sometimes flashbacks of the real events, but sometimes they were like the most recent one, every horror of the past year, blending together to create a new monstrous story. But no matter what, they all ended in the same crushing reality of him waking to the real world. Opening his eyes slowly, all he saw was white, as a woman's soft voice sounded and echoed in the eerie quiet. Yes, it was sad that I wasn't able to get to him this time. Abigail? Luke's heart jumped at the sweet sound of her voice. He tried to call to her, but he couldn't move, couldn't speak. What the hell was happening? To think he survived that horrible shooting, all of those terrible surgeries, just to end up taking his own life. Luke's mind raced. He had not died. What was she talking about? Luke heard the soft sound of material rustling next to his ear as the white sheet rested over his eyes and was drawn back. The dull light was replaced by a bright glare that pierced straight through his eyes and into his skull. But as hard as he tried, he could not close his eyes. The shadow crossed his vision as Abigail, her lips formed into a soft pout, leaned over him, pen in hand, clicking it over and over again as she stared down at him. So sad, she said. That was his pen, the one she had planned on taking as a memento after she drove him to commit suicide. But she hadn't. He had not died, damn it. Still clicking that stupid pen, Abigail shrugged and dropped the sheet back over his face. Oh well, you can't save them all. He felt powerless, lying there, frozen. Come on, Emily's soft voice whispered in his ears. You can get up now. Before he could think about it, Luke rose up and threw the sheet off, his body weightless as he spun around and saw the covered corpse still resting on the silver slab. What's happening? Luke asked Emily, as he struggled in vain to get his feet to connect with the floor. Unable to control his body, spirit, whatever the hell he was, he drifted over to a group of shadows that Emily had just merged into. Frustrated, Emily reached out and dragged Luke down to stand beside her. You're dead. That's what's happening. And now you get to be with us. Luke looked over at the familiar spirit faces of Andrea, Tyler, Richard, and several others that he had never been able to see before. More heartbreaking than that was Izzy, the little girl who would forever be reaching for that ragged doll Abigail had taken from her and kept in that damn trinket box. No, I didn't die. I know I didn't. Emily pointed over to Abigail, who signed the paperwork to have Luke's body cremated. She's not my next of kin. She has no right to do anything with my body. The mass of spirits began to close in on Luke as Abigail looked over at his remains, smiled, and waved goodbye. Emily leaned in and whispered to him, "Once she kills you, she will kill your brother, and so many others before she finally dies and leaves us here, together in limbo." No, no, you're wrong. That's not going to happen. Emerging out of the darkness, his brother Landon slowly crept toward him, followed by a host of dark, distorted forms that reached for him as the sound of gunfire, screams, and trains returned, along with a familiar chant from all of Abigail's victims as they pulled and tore at him in all directions. No peace, no peace, no peace. Then Kevin's face appeared out of the shadows. He lifted his rifle and shot Luke in the chest, sending him spiraling backward into the abyss full of angry souls. Breath labored, heart pounding, Luke jerked upright, scrambled off the back of the truck, hit the dirt, and cowered beside one of the tires. Mind racing, Luke tried to orient himself. He was not in his room or his office. Where the hell am I? Keeping his eyes shut tight, Luke could feel the sun on his back. It was hot, dry, and everything smelled like dirt and sagebrush. But he could also smell blood, decay, and death. Everything was out of control. He was dead. No, he had not died. Or would not be able to feel it. Would he? A voice called to him during his panic. He tried to listen to it past the terror that he was in, but it was hard. So hard. It's okay. It's okay. You're safe. Just breathe. Just breathe. His hands still grasping the object in front of him, Luke tried to calm his ragged breaths. Luke continued to hang on to the tire and fender like a lifeline as he struggled to block out the screams, the gunfire, and focus on the voice. That's it. Just listen to the sound of my voice. You can do this. Count with me, all right? Somewhere in the back of Luke's mind, he knew that was Abigail. How many times had she helped him find his way back from the horrors that overtook him? His mind warred with him, warned him not to trust her, but she was the only thing at the moment that made any sense and held any reason for him. So with his body quaking in fear, Luke gave a few quick nods and took a shuddering breath. Good. Let's count backward from 100. We'll do it together. Coming at him in waves, all the memories were a flood. Abigail standing there with the police as she betrayed him. Luke, Abigail touching his face tenderly as she looked deep into his eyes. Blood covering the floor as his blood seeped out of him, his student screaming. You can do this, Luke. Emily standing in front of that damn train. I know you can. Abigail holding her hand out to him as she smiled and guided him toward her bedroom. Luke's grip began to loosen its hold as he rested his head against the tire. Still calm, Abigail began their countdown. 99, 98, 90. Eyes still shut, Luke forced the words out of his dry mouth. 7. Encouraging him, Abigail praised Luke. That's right, keep going. 96. Luke's heart steadied as his and Abigail's voices fell into a slow, calm, and easy cadence. They counted together. 94, 93, 92, 91. Exhausted, Luke stopped counting and collapsed back against the side of the truck and allowed his head to rest upon the warm metal. He slowly opened his eyes as his breathing began to slow. God, how he hated these nightmares, the constant fear of falling asleep because of them, and how, even after a year, they continued to plague him both day and night. Abigail asked cautiously, Are you all right? Getting there. Luke's voice sounded weak even to his own ears. Are you seeing someone for your PTSD? Releasing his death grip on the truck tire, Luke fell back on his butt and gave a bitter laugh. What do you think? Luke looked over at Abigail, his disgust obvious. It's not exactly like I can walk in and get help I need, especially after everything that's happened. Beautiful face pressed up against the bars, Abigail looked at him sorrowfully. I'm so sorry you feel that way, Luke. It's no wonder you've relapsed. I haven't relapsed. Hell, he had never actually gotten to the point where he had ever thought he was okay after the shooting. Sure, he had started to see the light at the end of the tunnel, but Abigail had been sure to snuff that out before he could reach it. Really? You're not suffering from those nightmares, those panic attacks? Dusting off, Luke got to his feet. You know what? None of that is your concern anymore, remember? You're not my therapist. Abigail ducked her head, her expression guilty. Good, Luke thought. At least maybe she has enough of a soul left to feel bad about it. Searching his face, Abigail said, the trauma you've lived through, the helplessness you feel, that you can still continue to feel, it won't just go away on its own. Spotting the remaining 2 iron rods in the ground, Luke knew he had to finish this, but deep down wanted nothing more than to pretend it wasn't happening. I'm not the only person in recent history to survive a mass shooting. Everyone just has to find their own way to move on. True, but you're not everyone. Unlike most people, you have a high level of empathy, a strong sense of responsibility that you... Cutting her off, Luke spun around to face her. They were my responsibility. Her expression kind, Abigail corrected him. No more than it was the universities, their parents, or law enforcement that are assigned a task to protect and serve. Trembling, he argued, those students were in my class, under my care. Luke, what if someone else would have been teaching that day? Do you really believe they could have done anything different, done anything better? This was not the first time Luke had pondered that very question, or wished he had been given the foresight on how to deal with such a horrible situation. Maybe. Deep down, however, Luke knew there was no way he could have mentally been prepared for what had happened, for that horrible unknown that should never have been. You want me to tell you what I do know? That a lot of those students are still alive because of your actions that day. Because you and you alone chose to put yourself between those kids and a gunman. If that were true, why did he feel so guilty and so hopeless and so lost? Why did he feel like the actions he had taken with Kevin were too little? That if he had just taken a few more moments, he could have saved more lives. Perhaps even saved Kevin and talked him out of the madness he had been consumed that day. And why did everything in front of him want to run to Abigail, unlock that cell door, sweep her up into his arms, and carry her away from this place, knowing full well that she did not deserve to be rescued from what was yet to come? Without thought, Luke started for Abigail, ready to set her free, when Emily materialized in front of him, causing him to stumble. Stop! Her distorted face was made even uglier by the anger that seethed out of her. She's playing you. Abigail does not want to help you. She wants to destroy you, just like before. Frowning, Luke knew what Abigail must be thinking, watching him with his eyes fixed on the open air before him, his head cocked to the side, listening to someone she could not see. As hard as it was to admit, Emily was right. Abigail Davies, or whatever the hell her real name was, did not care about him or anyone else. She was toying with him in his broken, sleep-deprived state, and he, like an idiot, was falling right into her hands. Hardening his resolve, Luke turned back to the iron rods. We're not here to talk about me. Fine, then let's talk about why you've brought me here. Luke stopped in front of the last 2 rods, knowing that once driven into the ground, completing the large circle he was making, they would seal Abigail's fate. Abigail pled, please, Luke, just talk to me, okay? He looked at Emily, arms folded over her chest, her expression irritated. She shook her head. Luke understood why the young woman felt the way she did, but he also felt the responsibility to let Abigail know what this was really all about. If she understood, she could help him make things right, and he would not have to go through with this. They want you here. They? As if on cue, the other spirits materialized around his truck like a war party, ready to do battle with not only Abigail, but Luke too, if he had thoughts of backing out on their deal. Luke continued, "Those you've hurt." "Oh, not this again." "The people you've hurt. They can't move on until you've paid for your sins." Trying to hold back a laugh, Abigail sobered. "Luke, honey, there is no one else here." Feeling the weight of the ghost's angry stares as they looked at him, then back at that damned ornate wooden box sitting on the edge of the truck's tailgate, Luke ducked his head. "You don't know how badly I wish that were true." Luke could not bear the blank stare she gave him, the one in which she appeared to believe he was out of his freaking mind. In this moment, he thought maybe he was. "But it is true, sweetie," Abigail assured him in that sing-song voice of hers. "Please look at me. I can help you." This moment, like so many others, did not feel real. What if he had imagined all of this? Could the ghosts really just be figments of his tortured imagination? Hoping beyond hope that she was right, Luke looked back at the woman he had so deeply loved. Having worked an arm from between the thin bars of the small door, she offered her hand to him. "Just come to me. Take my hand, all right?" Guilty, Luke stood, his body trembling as he warred with his desire to go to Abigail and the knowledge of what would happen if he failed to see things through. Cooing, Abigail called, "It's okay. I'm here with you. When you're ready, we'll figure this out together." Fighting back his raw emotions, Luke staggered backward, then straightened, his eyes fixed on the team of spirits, dead set on destroying the one person who, at least for the moment, offered to help him find his way clear of this mess. But would she really? If these spirits were to be believed, if he helped her, he would pretty much be damning himself to the same cursed existence of this vengeful host, trapped for eternity with no peace. "You can't help me. At least not in the way you're thinking, Abby." Taking a deep breath, Abigail pulled her arm back inside the cage. "Then tell me what you need in order for us to both return home safely." Richard's eyes narrowed on Luke, even from this far away. Luke could feel the intensity of the anger Richard was about to unleash on him if he dared to go near Abigail. Luke glared back at Richard, daring him to try, then spun around and raced over to the cage, reached through the bars and grabbed Abigail's hands in both of his as he fell to his knees. Reaching out with her other hand, Abigail gently stroked Luke's hair. "Luke, I'm so sorry I left you alone to deal with this, but I'm here now." His breath heaving, Luke rested his head against the cool bars as he allowed her to comfort him. "God, please help me find a way to save her, to save myself." Luke's tear-filled eyes looked up at Abigail. "I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to bring you here. You have to believe me." Cupping Luke's chin in her hand, Abigail smiled. "It's all right. We're going to figure this out, I promise." Suddenly, a hopeful look of realization came to life on Luke's face. "Wait. I know what you have to do." Relieved, Abigail smiled. "You do?" Luke cast a hopeful glance back at the truck, nervous at the look of mutiny on the ghost's distorted faces. "Yes. If you confess and I destroy all of their..." Abigail pulled her hands free. "Confess? To what? Our affair?" Hurt, Luke pointed back at the truck. "No, what you did to them." Abigail took a step back. "Excuse me?" Hopeful, Luke got to his feet, hands together as if in prayer, and smiled. "Look, I don't care about what happened between us, but you've got to make things right with them. If you're truly sorry and ask them for forgiveness, I'm sure they would..." Frustrated, Abigail threw her hands in the air. Luke, for God's sake, there's nobody else here. A chill went down Luke's spine. From the sudden drop in temperature, he knew that Abigail was not the only one who had grown frustrated with him. Feeling the angry energy coiling about him like a snake, Luke choked on the dust that filled the air. Trying to salvage their fragile truce, Abigail calmed down. Honey, you're not well. You need help, and this time I promise I'll make sure you get it. Raging, Richard tore to Luke's side, eyes darting to Abigail as he slammed both hands into Luke's chest and sent Luke staggering backward. You fucking kidding me? Give in to that bitch now and she'll have you right back in a nut house, under her control before you... Get off me! Luke swung at Richard, temper flaring as his fist passed through the air. Concerned, Abigail watched Luke's bizarre encounter. Luke? A few feet from Luke, Richard hovered. You know I'm right, and I'll prove it. Richard soared back to the truck. Cautious, Emily inched her way to Luke. Professor, I hate to admit it, but he's right. And she won't stop with you. With keeping us. She'll also go after your brother. Ramming a hand through his hair, Luke seethed. Damn it, they were right. And if he took Abigail back, she would find a new way to end his life and then go after Landon. That dream, nightmare, or vision, whatever the hell it was he had upon waking, would become a reality. And as much as it pained him, the situation had to end here. In this place, in the way that he and Emily found to save everyone, the psychologist had kept locked up in one way or another. Stealing his resolve, Luke backed away from Abigail. What you really mean to say is the next time you find me overdosed, half dead on the floor, that you'll make sure I've actually stopped breathing before you call an ambulance. How can you say that? You know I care about you and only want the best. Yelling from the truck, Richard smirked. And what would that be, Luke? 6 feet under? Shut up! Luke glared at Richard before turning back to Abigail. To be clear, you should know that Emily told me everything. Emily? Insulted, Luke watched as Emily headed back to the truck and cast a glare Abigail's way. Defending his former student, Luke growled. Emily Harmon. Hand to her chest, Abigail backpedaled. Luke, these delusions, your endless need to save others, these are just more symptoms of your illness. Face pained, Luke pulled Emily's charm bracelet out of his pocket. You know I was trying to help Emily, and I was able to reach her. With time, she had gotten so much better, and helping her, I had too. It wasn't your fault, Abigail assured him. That old familiar rage began to boil within him as he turned cold eyes on Abigail. No, it was yours. Abigail stammered. I wasn't her doctor. She wasn't under my care. Unable to stop himself, Luke pressed. Oh, no, you were not her therapist, but you sure as hell spoke with her, didn't you? Abigail's lips promptly clamped shut as he walked toward her. When Emily's doctor was on vacation the evening she started spiraling out of control, I guess you just couldn't help yourself from giving her one last push. Retreating several steps back into the cage, Abigail stared at Emily's bracelet, strangled in Luke's hand. You knew Emily was a very troubled young woman. I did, but unlike you, I didn't take advantage of her. Abigail defended herself. I'm not responsible for her deciding to step out in front of that train. He knew that was a lie, just like he knew he would never forget watching that sweet young girl die. No, but you sure as hell pushed her beyond her ability to cope. And you were more than happy to watch her walk out of your office knowing full well what she intended to do. No one could have known what was going on in her head, Luke. I'm not God. I can't always save everyone, no matter how badly I'd like to or how hard I try. Just like you, there are times I'm going to fail. Beyond frustrated, Luke rubbed the back of his neck again. I can't help you if you won't admit to what you've done. Why don't you just tell the damn truth? Luke watched Abigail through and thought everything over. Sighing, she walked back to the front of the cage. You want me to confess to what? Driving Emily to commit suicide? That would be a great place to start. Once she did that, she would find it easier to admit to the others she had done wrong and ask them to forgive her. For starters. Nodding, Abigail agreed. Fine. Take me to the police station and I'll confess. He could not hide the hope he felt about the burden that would be lifted from him if she would do that. You will? She was contrite now. Of course. I'll give them my statements as soon as we get there. Luke glanced around at his ghostly companions. From their united front, he knew they were not going anywhere. The only chance she had was to confess here and now to them, all of them. What about the others? Surprised, Abigail asked, The others? Yes, the others that belong to those trophies in that box. Abigail forced a nervous smile. Of course, anything you need me to do or say, I'll do it. But you'll have to let me out of here first. I'd like to get there before dark if that's all right with you. About that. Luke looked back at the truck. You'll have to make those confessions here with them, and you'll have to convince them that you're truly sorry. Her mouth opening and closing, Abigail struggled for words. What? Beside Luke, Izzy warned, It doesn't matter what she says. She isn't sorry. I can tell. Smug, Richard called to Luke, and I'll prove it. A dust devil sprang to life beside Richard and carried dust, grass, and other small debris into a whirlwind that danced its way toward the back of the pickup. A worried frown marred Luke's face as the small box sitting at the edge of the tailgate wobbled. Damn it. Luke started for the vehicle, but was yanked backward as Abigail caught his jacket. I knew it! You did steal my things! Tyler added his angry energy to the swirling column of air, and it hit the truck, rocking the vehicle with enough force to send multiple light items and the small box crashing to the ground, spilling its contents all over the rocky soil. Horrified, Luke yanked himself free of Abigail's hold and watched as everything came tumbling out of the box. Izzy's bedraggled doll, Andrea's expensive pearl earrings, and Richard's fancy gold tie clip all hit the dirt with a thud and sank as Tyler's well-worn baseball bounced away from the truck and toward the cage. Abigail's eyes lit with rage. She watched as the baseball made its way toward her, hit the cage, sprang off the frame, and stopped a few inches short of the door. Abigail scrambled frantically to her knees, thrust her arm through the bars, and reached for the ball as Luke dove for it. Luke skidded to a stop before the cage and snatched it up before she was able to grab it. Abigail's hand captured Luke's wrist, and she dug her nails into his tender flesh. Luke's startled eyes met Abigail's cold, menacing ones. You'd better give me back my things, or you'll wish to God you had choked to death on those damn pills. That's a good place to end chapter 11. Join us soon for chapter 12. If you like these reading videos, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Tell your friends. There's a lot of other really good books we're going to be getting to, but this one's a really good one to start. And you'll see why too, because we're going to dive not only more into this one as we read it, but we're also going to do a series of videos about this book and the movie that was made from it. Yeah, we'll be getting to those pretty soon too. In the meantime, if you haven't already liked and subscribed, go ahead and do that. And check back really soon. We're going to get to chapter 12. We'll see you then.